Monsieur McLean pour 4 minutes.
Merci beaucoup, Mr. President. I had a question for Ms. Chandrasekera because I'm really curious about when you speak about the testing of animals, you're talking about it being more economical and better outcomes with more targeted results for what we're after here as far as applications for human sources. Can you give us, for our education here, an indication of how much is being spent on animal testing in Canada right now, and how much you think we'd save in the changes we're talking about that would be part of this?
In terms of the actual numbers, they are not available because in Canada, we do not know, we know how many animals are used in toxicity testing based on the Canadian Council on Animal Care guidelines, but those do not include some of the private companies that are not part of this accreditation organization. But I can give you some numbers on what these tests cost, and I've got it right in front of me. So one of the tests, the rat cancer bioassay, it takes 2 years to look at carcinogenicity. It costs about $700,000 to do this test. And when it comes to looking at sex hormone interactions, the estrogen hormone interactions and androgen, male androgen ones, these range in the $30,000 to $40,000 to do the animal test, but the non-animal methods are around $7,000. So when you're talking about the time that it takes, right? So that also translates into money, because some of these tests can be done in a matter of few days. Whereas the animal tests take weeks and months, and even the 2 years for reproductive testing and for cancer bioassays, things like that. But in terms of exactly how much money is being spent in Canada, I'm not sure that's ever been really calculated. And some of these are being provided by, it's the companies that are spending the money. So if you are a chemical company and you're trying to get a new chemical approved, you're doing all of these tests and submitting the data to federal agencies.
Yeah. So tell me, what's the holdback now from, if it is more effective and more economical, what is the holdback for making the change immediately as opposed to having legislation help make the change?
I don't think there is enough of an incentive for everyone to adopt these technologies. And that's where legislation comes into place, that this is what happened with the cosmetics industry in the European Union, that when the EU government said that you're now no longer going to be able to test on animals within a certain period of time, the innovators, the companies, the researchers, the government came up with a plan on how to accommodate that. And right now we have issues with quote-unquote validation. So all of these new data that are being generated from these new methods are being compared constantly to these old animal methods, and that's really hindering our progress. And even the ones that are really far advanced, they are not being adopted by regulatory agencies around the world at the pace and the scale that they should be adopted in. So those are really holding us back, but with legislation, we could kind of enforce that and give them an option to do it quickly.
It's the bump forward you're talking. Okay, thank you. I had one question because I was curious from Mrs. Fast. Went through your submission here, and I wasn't clear the difference between Manitobans and the rest of Canadians as far as the application of this law, and why you see that the current law doesn't serve Manitobans as well as it serves other Canadians. In just a quick explanation, if you could, please.
15 seconds, please.
I was referring to the fact that at the provincial level, some jurisdictions have recognized environmental human rights, and in Manitoba at the provincial level, we do not.
Thank
so
you.
that is what I was referring to.